Good afternoon, guys. Doing an update here on BTC, Sunday evening, the 24th. Hope you guys had a great weekend. So, this market's been obviously has had a little bit more energy here the last several weeks, 3-4 weeks. And from a time perspective, though, two things. We've talked about this cycle being very important here into the end of February, whether or not we can break the trend back to the upside with this turning point. So cycles aren't about highs and lows, they're about turning points. A lot of times you're going to get highs with the cycle, but a lot of times you're going to have cycle inversion where you actually get lows or something bottoms with a cycle high. So the cycles are really more about turning points and the ebb and flow of time versus, because everything, obviously, if everything only made highs and lows with a cycle, the market would be flat. So it's just a difference in how we think about time versus typically everybody's very concerned about price and trend. And so this last wave, this last cycle hasn't really produced much other than this sideways price action. But I talked about if the market could make new highs with this turning point here in February, then there's a much higher probability that we could rally and start a meaningful rally back towards 6,000 into April. And I'll change the screen here in a little bit, but price just rejected this 4,200 for the third time, and that's the level we've been talking about in futures. That was the sell level. So we've been taking profits into that area this weekend, and then futures aren't open obviously, but that was a good place to sell. A couple of you sold 4,000 last week or in front of 4,000, and that was the right thing to hedge some of your alts and some things that we bought pretty well. So the market is still making a series of long-term lower highs. The intermediate term and long-term trend is still down, and the market just failed right at that spot that's defining this trend. So I'm not really surprised the market backed off there. That was a good place to make some sales. So we'll see how we finish out February, but I think there's a higher chance now that we're just going to trade sideways to down, even out here into April after failing to make a new high. We still have a couple more weeks. Maybe we catch here and flush out some of the shorts and take another run at it. But anyway, on the right-hand side into March is really where I want to see if price can make some new highs. All right, if we look at it, the actual trend, I'll go back to make this a little bit easier to see. So although we're at this monthly cycle, this is a positive for the bulls. The monthly cycle is very, very low now. This was something that we were highlighting when the market was pretty much going parabolic, that we haven't had a down cycle on the monthly stochastic, and this cycle is really close to wanting to turn up. I think that's kind of setting up more for maybe a turn in April, just by looking at that. So we'll keep an eye on it. I like that we're at the bands here. So there's definitely a place for the market to bottom out longer term. It's just doesn't mean it can't go sideways for some period of time. But I do like that cycle is low. When we look at the weekly, that started to turn up here last week. So from a time perspective, that was constructive. And then you'll see here, though, in a second, we need to have both price and time that we care about. And the trend, and from the price perspective, we just haven't been able to change what we call the technical structure. So here you have the daily cycle very high to start the week, and I know there was a lot of enthusiasm here on this run, but we failed right where we should have. I mean, this whole zone I've been talking about forever. We've been selling into the zone every time. That's clearly the pivot, 4,200, 4,300, and we can see it more on the 4-hour. I'll do some more work on that this week in futures. But this was a strong candle here that changed the near term, and so that was definitely a good run. Well, we haven't wanted to step in front of that. I was saying wait, if you want a shorter hedge, wait for 4,000 maybe, but really 4,200 to 4,300 zone. Done a couple of videos on that. So that was a pretty good call. That's clearly the pivot. Now on the downside, guys, if you do get a 4-hour cycle back down, you've got pi here, which is pretty sideways. But there'll be some chance to buy ether and buy like Cardano again. If we get knocked down for another daily cycle pullback, maybe below 3,600, I'd be interested in that. So I did have some offers in above the market on some of this stuff. I might have gotten filled on ether. We failed right at 5 cents. I'm surprised I didn't get anything off up there. Ethereum failed right there at 160. I'll be a buyer again, maybe at 120, closer to where we bought last time, in front of par, in front of 100 a buck. You know, Litecoin back here at 36, I'm interested in. So there's definitely some good moves, but that was a pretty big spot we failed at, and that's continues to be the level that we care about on the upside. Just want to let some of you guys know, I knocked all our trading services down by 50% over the weekend. I'm just doing a flash sale for the weekend and into Monday. And then these prices are going to go back to what they normally are, but everything's half off. The trading room, only 99 bucks. The Forex course, I've had a lot of interest from some of you there. Hopefully that helps you get started if that's a market you want to learn to trade. And then our courses, $1,000 for the 9-hour institutional course that I put together. This options course involves like how we handle our call ratio spreads and our hedging. And then for some of you that really want the breakthrough, you really want to kind of take your trading to the next level, the coaching mentorship program. I've never had it at a price cheaper than $2,000. So that's a great place for some of you that want to get started and for my group in March. All right. Hope you guys have a great evening. I'll talk to some of you in the morning.